Hi, welcome to Chris Cook for You Too. Today we're going to be doing corned beef Reubens. Now that's one of my favorite sandwiches. I truly do love it. Let me show you what we're going to need in order to get this done. We're going to need, of course, the corned beef, some Swiss cheese. You can use provolone, any kind you want. We like Swiss. Some sauerkraut, and you can buy it in the bag or in the jar, but I like it better in the bag because to me it tastes more like the kraut. You're going to need some mustard, or you can use the special sauce that they use at most restaurants, which is really Thousand Island dressing, and you just add a little bit of mayo to it. And if you're going to be using French dressing, then you add some mayo and some sandwich spread. And you're going to need a marble rye. You don't necessarily have to use a rye bread. You can use any kind you want, but we like to use this, and we like to toast it just a little bit. But you'll see me put the sandwich together, so you'll know exactly how to do it when you want a corned beef Reuben. Now, there's a lot of restaurants, not plugging any, that sell corned beef Reubens. My favorite place to go and get this sandwich, or to get pastrami and corned beef sandwich, would be Jason's. If you're around a Jason's Deli, you got to check them out. That's a free plug from me, but their sandwiches are delish. Now, this is the corned beef, and I want to show you something about this. When you get your corned beef, if you get that little packet of seasoning right there, you don't need to do anything else to this corned beef. Nothing at all. Wash it, put the fat side up, and add this seasoning, what you're going to see me do. So we're going to go away, get this meat washed. I'm going to come back and show you how to do it. When we go away to wash it, go ahead and set your oven to 325 degrees. We're going to allow this to cook 2.5 hours covered. Then we're going to uncover it and take it the rest of the way, which is going to be 4 hours, because, or right at 4 hours, simply because we're slow roasting. Why are we using the oven and not the crock pot? Because you get much better flavor when you use the oven with your corned beef instead of putting it in a crock pot. So we're going to go away, get everything together, and we'll be right back. I'm back, so I'm going to go ahead and get ready to put this in the oven. Remember, your oven temperature is already set at 325. You should be preheating now. I wanted to show you this. If you got any globs of fat, you can go ahead and just take that off of, you know, your corned beef. Now, you do want a layer of fat going across the top, but see how this is? I've already started to cut it. That you don't need. That's too much. And the reason why you want that layer of fat, because that layer of fat acts as a baster, and when the fat oil started to flow from the corned beef, what will happen is it will help to continue to baste your meat because it rolls down. So it's actually basting your meat. Now, inside that meat, I showed you that you got a packet that looks something like, well, it looks exactly like this. So you want to open that packet, and normally what you would do, if you're cooking this in a crock pot, you would take all of your seasonings that's in here. Now, this is perfectly distributed. It has the perfect amount for the corned beef that you're cooking, and it also has the perfect seasoning. So you don't need to add anything to this corned beef. And because this corned beef is corned beef, it already comes with the salt on it. So all you want to do is to wash your meat. Then you want to paper towel dry your meat. And once you do that, you want to go ahead and put your seasonings on your meat, and then put it in your slow cook if that's what you're going to do. But because we're not going to do that, we're going to bake this, because I want to make corned beef sandwiches from it. We're just going to go and put holes in it. Now, we're not going to take these holes all the way down to the bottom of this corned beef. We're just going to stick little holes in it, just enough for us to get our hand in there and stick these seasonings that they've given us over inside of the corned beef, as well as put it, the rest of it, the remaining portion of it, you can just put it around the corned beef. Now, you don't need a lot of holes. About 5 or 6 will be good. Just want to be able to get your finger down over in it. So we'll put some on there and we'll stick them over inside of it. Look, see how my finger goes all the way down in there? See that hole? Okay. We want to put it in. What does that do? That will start those seasonings to actually, it's going to penetrate the meat in all parts. And when it penetrates the meat, it's going to go ahead and add the extra flavor that you need to go ahead and cook this off. Make a little bit more. And put more. Now you got everything that you need for this roast. Then I put one down here somewhere. I don't remember what I put. I should have just went ahead and put the seasonings in it at the time that I made the holes, but I didn't. So now, as long as you don't pierce this meat, once you start to cooking this meat, you're going to be fine, because that moisture that's on the inside, you don't want to pierce that meat, because if you pierce it, the juices are going to start to flow. So instead of your meat being juicy, moist, and tender, your meat is going to be rough and like leather, and that you don't want. So that's what happens when you allow all of your juices to dry out. Now, once you remove this from the oven, you're going to allow it to sit for 15 minutes before you actually cut into it to make your Reubens. Okay. For some reason, I'm not piercing big enough to get my, there you go, get my finger down over it. Now, okay. Now, I put this in my meat. Probably could have put it a couple of more places, but it's okay. So then I'm going to take the rest of this seasoning pack and I'm going to put it on top of my meat. Okay. Now, you can tell, holding that, this is my lean side. This is my fat side. You want your fat side to be up. So now I have a couple of pieces of aluminum foil, and I'm going to cover it, because you want to cover it for 2.5 hours. This is the pan I'm going to use. In the pan, I already have the rack. Now, one other thing you want to do is you don't want to put cold water in the bottom of this rack. You want to put hot water. See that smoke coming from my water? You can see it a little bit better now. See that? You want to put hot water, because this is where I'm going to get my juices from. That's going to make my meat moist. Then you want to take your meat and put it on your rack, and you want to cover it with this aluminum foil. Okay, that's it. That's all you need to do for 2.5 hours. Put this in my oven, 325 degrees. I tell you again, as usual, your ingredients, which you don't need it because I showed you which corned beef to buy, is going to be in the tutorial, along with the amount of time that you're going to need to cook it, depending on the weight of your corned beef. And it's going to be how long you need to cook it. So I'm going to go away, put this in my oven, and I'll see you in 2.5 hours, just so you can see what it looks like. Be right back. Okay, now we're back, and it's been about 2 hours. And because it was small, we're going to go ahead and take the top off. So we're going to take the foil off, and now we're going to let it proceed to do the browning, okay? So we're going to bring you back in about an hour. So we pulled it off, took the top off, put it back in an hour it should be brown, and we'll get ready to have these delicious Reuben sandwiches. Okay, now we're back, and the corned beef is ready. So we're going to bring it out of the oven. That's the way it should look. My corned beef is a little bit smaller, so I didn't need as much time. Now, if you see those juices in the side, we're going to pour those juices off. Remember, that was the water and mixed with some of the juices flowing from the corned beef. That was it, so we're going to pour that off. Now, before you do anything, you're going to hug that meat tight with the aluminum foil that you put on it to begin with. Why are you doing that? Because you want it to settle and you want the juices to evenly flow. So we're going to leave that for about 15 minutes. By the time we come back, we will have everything ready so we can slice it up. My daughter's going to slice it up because she's the best slicer in here. So we're going to slice it up, and then we're going to prepare this Reuben.
Okay, right now back. She's slicing this, and she's going to slice this as thin as she can hand slice it. And when we get it all sliced up, then we'll bring you back, and we'll put together this sandwich. But you don't want to cut these slices thick. You want them thin. The thinner the meat, the better the taste. If you have a food slicer, you can go ahead, or a meat slicer, you can go ahead and use that. Or you can use your hand just like what we are actually doing. So when we get this sandwich, when we get through cutting up this meat, bring you back and put this sandwich together.
Okay, now we've cut up all the corned beef. Here it is sitting over here. And here is my sauerkraut. I think it's still warm. Yep, it's still warm. So I'm going to take some of the juice out of the sauerkraut, and I'm going to get my bread, which I've already put some cheese, and I put a little mustard up underneath the cheese. One thing that you don't want to do is you don't ever want to put your sauerkraut directly down on your bread. Why is that? Because your sauerkraut will make your bread too mushy. Okay? Now, if you need to spread your mustard out, you can go ahead and do that. I don't need to do that, so I'm going to put my sauerkraut down, and I'm putting my sauerkraut on top of my cheese. Make sure that I got enough. I got plenty of sauerkraut in there. I just heat it up enough so I can make this sandwich and show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to add to that my corned beef. You want a lot of corned beef. Okay. So you put a lot of corned beef. Now if you want pickles, you can put pickles. If not, you don't have to. Then you're going to take this and just go ahead and cover it up. If you want more cheese on it, go ahead and do it. And whenever you make your corned beef sandwiches, you want them to be healthy. I'm going to go ahead, and what I mean by that, I mean healthy with a lot of meat in them. You don't want to make a corned beef sandwich that ain't got no meat in it. And you're just eating bread and cheese. And like I told you before, you can use any cheese that you choose to use. I'm going strictly with Swiss because that's my cheese of choice whenever I'm making a corned beef sandwich. Okay? Put these little pieces that I dropped right back up there. Okay, so there I have it. There is my corned beef sandwich. And I'm going to add some chips down here on my plate. I'm going to move this out of the way. And if you want to add some pickles, you can go ahead and add some pickles to that. But that's what I'm having. I'm having a Reuben corned beef sandwich, or a Reuben sandwich, which is the same thing as corned beef. I'll tilt this back just a little bit so you can see that corned beef up in there. This is a really, really good sandwich. I think if you try it, you will enjoy it. I have it all the time. I'm going to make more than one. That's why that corned beef is still sitting out here. But don't be scared to try it, because I think if you do, you're going to enjoy it. Okay, that's what Chris has for you today. Chris is making corned beef Reuben. And as always, thank you for watching. Chris cooked for you too. Bye.